Madam Speaker, we are in a housing crisis here in HRM and across the province. And while the Premier has been focusing on picking fights with other orders of government and freezing development fees, he has done precious little to address the shortage of affordable housing across this province. In fact, we've heard from experts that this government's actions are likely to make it harder to build affordable housing in HRM. My question for the Premier is, we are going to need over 30,000 affordable units in the next 6 years. How are we going to get there?
The Honourable Deputy Premier.
Madam Speaker, we took action as soon as we were elected. In fact, I remember 3 weeks after being sworn in, meeting and doing what the opposition has criticized us for doing, that being approving additional appropriations to the budget. And what was one of the more significant ones that we approved? It was for housing. Madam Speaker, millions of dollars for housing. We cannot, unfortunately, build this housing overnight, but we did not wait, Madam Speaker. We took action. We approved millions of dollars 3 weeks after being sworn in as a new government, and a lot of those investments, we hope, are starting to prove fruitful for people who need them. And I can provide all kinds of other examples. This is something that we've taken very serious, and we've responded as soon as we took government.
The Leader of the NDP on her first supplement.
Madam Speaker, the Premier says that the solution to the housing crisis is to build more housing, but instead of making it easier to build affordable housing, he is making it harder. Instead of working with partners, he is steamrolling them, and instead of what nonprofit housing providers have asked for, fast access to capital and financing to build truly affordable housing, he is spending millions of appropriated dollars. He's funneling them to private developers with unclear results. And so my question is, why is the Premier making it harder to build desperately needed affordable housing in Halifax?
The Honourable Deputy Premier.
Madam Speaker, I reject the premise of the question. And I will say that there are all kinds of factors at play here. The government, I believe we've done our part in putting money out there for private developers, but not just for private developers. We've also been open to co-op housing, nonprofits, and even more recently, the government has announced for the first time since I understand about 1995, an investment in government-owned new housing. And that's in addition to, as I recall, it was $15 million in the last budget for fixing up existing government-owned affordable housing. So, Madam Speaker, I reject the premise of the question, and I will say that we have been focused on this, and from as soon as we were elected.
The Honourable Leader for the NDP on their final supplementary.
Madam Speaker, the government loves to talk about the 200 units that will eventually get built in the face of the need for 30,000. The experts have been clear. Labor shortages, supply chain issues, high interest rates, these are the stumbling blocks to faster development in HRM. They've also been clear that the government's approach to expediting high-end development will shift the financial burden from the private sector directly onto the backs of Nova Scotians. Our taxes will go up, housing prices will continue to climb, and affordable housing will continue to be out of reach. We have seen no proof from the Premier that anything he's doing for private developers is going to make an impact for real people who need housing. There's no plan, no timeline, no deliverables for affordable housing for tens of thousands of Nova Scotians who need it. Who is the Premier trying to help?
I recognize the Honourable Deputy Premier.
Madam Speaker, we can agree that, and the member just mentioned, the three of the most significant issues to increasing the supply of housing in the province are labour shortages, high interest rates, and supply chain issues. But I can tell you, on a positive note, that we've seen at the Department of Finance that many of the supply chain issues are starting to resolve themselves. So that will be helpful. In terms of labour shortages, no question. But a lot of those issues, Madam Speaker, are outside of the control of the government. We are trying to bring people to the province. We have the more opportunities for skilled trades, Madam Speaker, who despite questions last week, we believe that program is certainly working for those who are taking advantage of it. And I will also say, in terms of responding to the cost of higher interest rates, we've partnered with the federal government to remove the HST off rental housing.
I recognize the